Okay, guys, good morning. It is April the 27th, and it is a Tuesday. So we have reached the finale, the final chapter of Lord of the Flies. And it's an exciting chapter. So Ralph, he is the last one who still has like respect for civilization, even though he realizes that without Piggy, without Simon, without Sam and Eric, that it's gone. There's nothing left to really live for on this island because the kids have just run amok. It's chaos on the island with Jack leading the helm. So Ralph is hiding in the jungle, and he stumbles across the dead pig head that was on the stake where Simon found it, and it's been eaten away by flies by now. It's decayed, it's rotten, it's just a skull, and it's pearlescent and white and shiny, very similar to the shiny conch shell that was destroyed when Piggy died. And he's Ralph. He's angry. He's disgusted, and he shoves the skull off of the stake, and he takes it to use as a weapon. The stake, not the head, against Jack and his tribe, because that's all he has left. He's got nothing. He doesn't have anything to defend himself. So he's got to take this stake. At night, Ralph sneaks down to Jack's camp at Castle Rock to try to find Sam and Eric. And he finds them guarding an area on the side of a mountain. And the twins, they take pity on him and they give him something to eat, but they can't let him stay. They do warn him, however, that in the morning, Jack and Roger are going to start hunting him like prey. They're going to scour the island with all of the other boys until they find him, and they're going to kill him. In the morning, Jack, he starts to torture one of the boys, Sam and Eric, one of the twins, to kind of find out where Ralph is. And Ralph is hiding near Jack's camp because he figures that they're not going to start looking for me if I'm so close. They're not going to start looking closer to the camp. They're going to start looking for me farther away from the camp on the island. So he decides that he's going to stay in like this really thicketed, closed off area. Oh, thank God someone turned my lights on. So he hides inside this thicketed area that's really hard to get through. And the boys, they figure out where he's hiding. So they're all trying to get through there and pry themselves in there. And they're trying to push a big boulder, a big rock into the area, and it's just not going anywhere. They try to break through there. And then Ralph, he starts to have to defend himself against these boys. But Jack, and all of his ingenuity, he decides that he's going to set the island on fire and smoke Ralph out of hiding. And Ralph is like, oh crap, what do I do now? I've got to get out of this hole that I'm in, because I'm gonna die from smoke inhalation. So he busts out of this thicket and he starts running for dear life, because that's all he can do. All he can do is just run. Like Forrest Gump. All he's got to do, all he can do is run. And he makes his way over to the beach and he collapses. He's done for. He's exhausted. I mean, he's been running, and these boys are behind him, and they're painted up. They've got their wooden spears. They're chanting. They're hooping and they're hollering, and they're coming after him. And their intent is to kill. They want him dead. And Ralph, he passes out, and he wakes up on the beach, and there's someone standing over him. And he's scared. He's scared to look up. But there's shoes. And he realizes none of the boys have shoes. And so he looks up, and it is a Navy officer, an adult. And the officer tells Ralph, and he sees the boy standing behind him. And he's a bit confused as to what the heck is going on. He says, my boat came over. We saw that the island was on fire and we needed to check it out. And we see you lot. And he's very presumptuous in assuming, my God, what are you boys doing? Are you just having a good jolly old time? Are you playing Coral Reef, which at that time was a TV show? And he thought that they were reenacting the TV show. And then he sees that these boys are holding stakes, and they've got their faces painted like savages, and that this child who is laying down before him is in tears, and he's overwhelmed, and he can hardly function at the mention of like rescue. And then this officer realizes, oh my God, what is going on? And he asks, have there been any casualties? And Ralph nods. And he asks, who is in charge here? And Jack, he starts to step forward and say, and then he moves back because he's got the glasses around his arm. And he doesn't want to be the one to have to answer that question when it comes down to the line of, have there been any casualties? And what that means is, have there been any deaths? Have you killed anybody? And Ralph answers, there have been multiple. There have been several. There have been at least 2. And the officer is just completely taken aback because he can't understand how these boys have lost their humanity and civilization in such a short amount of time. Not like we even know how long these boys have been on the island, but not like he does either. But more so, he's very upset that these English boys have lost their sense of civility and humanity. And that's really upsetting to him. But really, it would be upsetting for anybody to lose their sense of civility and humanity. He moves away from the boys so that they can regain themselves and their composure. And he gives them that space for a few moments. And that's where our book ends. Our boys are rescued, but it doesn't really tell us anything about the mental toll that it actually takes on them long term. And that's the summary of our chapter. I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to let y'all debrief, and then we're going to go into the analysis of our chapter. So give me just a sec. Okay. So let's take a look at the analysis of this chapter, because there's not a whole lot, but it's kind of different. So Ralph was dead set that fire is what was going to save them. And it did. When Jack set fire to the entire island in search of Ralph to smoke him out of that thicket, it drew the attention of that naval officer. And it brought them over to the island to be like, yo, what's going on? And it brought their salvation, their savior. Now, let's take a look at the irony of the actual naval officer, the adult. There's irony in the fact that this person who has come to save them represents an adult who should be a civilized person. Now, I have all the respect in the world for our servicemen and women. My family is filled hand over fist with servicemen and women, from Army to Marines to Navy to airmen. That's just how my family is built up for. But we expect these people to be extraordinarily civilized. However, what we don't see in them, or what we don't recognize as this aspect of life, is that their job is to go to war. And that's exactly what was happening on this island. There was a war between uncivilized and civilized people. So Jack's tribe and then Ralph's tribe, for lack of a better term, they were at war with one another. And that's exactly what these boys were going to go into with getting on this ship to go to be rescued by this naval officer. They didn't know what was going on in the real world. Was the real world at war? They don't know, because they've been stuck on an island. And apparently they were stuck on an island because their plane was taken down by an atom bomb. The civilized officer himself is part of an adult world in which violence and war go hand in hand with his job. That's what he does for a living, is he goes off on a ship and he fights for freedom, or he fights for social order. So it's a little bit hypocritical that this person is the one to rescue them, or this group of people, these Navy officers, are the ones who rescued them and are going to take them back to law and order of the real world, possibly their parents, or some other guardianship that we may not know about. I mean, the kids have been so far removed mentally from our world that we would call sane and logical and ethical humanity, that we don't know how they're going to react when they're reintroduced. They're going to need lots of therapy, lots of reintroduction into the world before they can be released back in, much as you would release a wild cat back into the nature after having, a broken leg or something of that sort, and they've been in a sanctuary. One thing is for sure, none of these kids will ever be the same. But that's just something that we wanted to touch upon, or that I wanted to touch upon with you. That was really just kind of like ironic to me, is that the person who rescues them fights wars for a living, and they don't have like a socially just job, or a civilized and just job in the normal sense. They're not like a welder or a carpenter or a teacher or a musician. They're not a painter, where they don't have to make those moralistic calls that will end with life or death every day. So I just thought that adding that little touch in there at the very end, that was the real icing on the cake that William Golding really put in there. And that really shows his experience of being in a world war, because this author was not just a writer. He was an experienced veteran, and that shows in his writing. So I hope that you guys find that nifty too. Writers write about what they know. And this writer in particular was a veteran. So he put that into his story to really showcase that's what he was familiar with. And I think that's so wonderful. I hope that you guys have really enjoyed this book journey with me, because I've loved going on it with you. After this, we're going to be going into senior letters. And that's a really beautiful thing that we're going to do together, where you guys are going to get to recount on your past 4 years at Carver High. So we have finished a novel. If this is your first time finishing a full novel, congratulations to you. I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of you for sticking it out. You did it. And I'm really just super proud. I know that sometimes you don't stick with a full novel, but you did it. So go you. I will see you in our next recording. I really loved making these videos with you. So I will probably continue making videos with you. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. Have a great day.